Now we move to natural family planning. Let me just say that if you are doing what comes naturally, you will not do natural family planning. Natural family planning is based upon prediction of when ovulation will occur and then avoiding having intercourse at that time when the woman will be fertile. How do you know when ovulation will occur? Well, for many women, they will keep a basal body temperature chart. And the first thing they do when they wake up in the morning is to put a thermometer, and there are special thermometers which will measure half-degree increments. You put this in the vagina and take what was called a basal body temperature. And you can see the basal body temperature is fairly stable down here. And now the temperature starts rising. Is it okay to have intercourse now? Well, here you can see that we have a rise in the basal body temperature with now a new basal body temperature. We call this a biphasic BBT, or basal body temperature chart. The idea is that the site of ovulation gives rise to the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum produces progesterone, and the thermogenic effect of progesterone on the temperature regulatory center of the brainstem raises the basal body temperature. Now, how long after ovulation will the corpus luteum produce enough progesterone so you will see an effect on the basal body temperature? It certainly isn't going to be minutes. It probably is not going to be hours, but certainly within a couple of days. So we will assume that ovulation occurred someplace around here. Now, how long is the egg fertilizable? 12 to 24 hours. How long is the sperm capable of fertilizing the egg? Probably 24 to 48 hours. So we're looking then at the inexact prediction, because we don't know exactly when it occurred, and then giving enough space before and after to allow for normal variation. Many couples will, in addition to the basal body temperature chart, also rely on the change in cervical mucus. An estrogen-dominant cervical mucus, which is prior to ovulation, will be very stretchy and is called a very healthy spin barkite, which is a stretchability. When ovulation occurs, the progesterone will then take over, and the cervical mucus now becomes thick and sticky rather than watery and stretchy. And that will then also give you a feeling as to where you're going. This is an estrogen-dominant cervical mucus. This is a pre-ovulatory finding. This is a post-ovulatory, and you can see how different it is. It doesn't have the ferning, the pattern. It is thick and sticky. This is a cycle bead ring. And this is a help to identify what would be the safe days for having sex and what would be the unsafe days. You start out here with the red bead marking the first day of the menstrual period. And then each day you move the ring over 1 day at a time. Now, if a woman has 21-day cycles, how many days after the first day of her period will she ovulate? And that's going to be day 7. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's okay to have sex up to that point, but once you get onto the white beads, these are felt to be unsafe days. Now, I would think that you would have the dark days as the ones where you wouldn't have sex, but they make them the white days. And you notice how many beads there are now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 days when you should be avoiding unprotected sex. Can you wait that long? And then here we have the brown beads when she's less likely to get pregnant. So this is the cycle beads. And you move in this direction here. 1295. It requires a lot of discipline and a lot of compulsiveness on the part of both members of the couple. Okay, now we look at all of the different methods that we've talked about and how effective are they. This looks at the failure rates in the first year of reversible methods. This looks at the failure rates, the lowest expected, if the method is used perfectly, if it is used compulsively, if you always remember. And you can see that all of these are around 5% or less failure rate, which is pretty good. Notice the implant, the injectable, and the pill are down low over here. But what I want to show you next is what happens when you bring the human element in. Human frailties, the forgetfulness, the passions of the moment. And look at this. You have a huge increase in the failure rate. And what kind of methods? These are largely the barrier methods. Withdrawal rhythm, the diaphragm, the condom. So we have a major increase, particularly in those where many decisions are required. So it's important to know your patient. Is she compulsive? Is she impulsive? Is she mature? Is she immature? There are what I call the folk methods. These are methods that intuitively seem like they should work, but frankly, they don't have a good track record. Coitus interruptus, postcoital douche, prolonged lactation. We talked about that when we talked about postpartum contraception. The advantage of coitus interruptus is withdrawing of the penis prior to ejaculation. It is inexpensive. It is readily available. You don't have to buy anything. The disadvantage, it requires great discipline. We will all benefit from discipline in our lives, but I suspect most of us are not particularly anxious to have discipline in this particular area. This is the time you want to become closer together, not come apart. The other disadvantage is semen in the vagina can get into the cervical mucus even prior to ejaculation. So it's not just with ejaculation that sperm come out. And yet if a couple have used this for planning all their children and they're happy with it, I'm not going to say don't use it, but this is not something that you would recommend for most couples. The postcoital douche is where after ejaculation you flush the semen out the vagina. Again, this isn't the time when you want to jump out of bed and start irrigating the vagina. This is the time when you want to be close to each other, right? The other limitation is sperm can get into the cervical mucus within 90 seconds, and once they are gone, and you're not going to get them back. This is a study which looked at how long does it take from ejaculation, sperm to get into the cervical mucus, and even to get up to the fallopian tube. They're up to the fallopian tube in 5 minutes, and then the cervical mucus by 2 minutes. And yet time goes by very quickly. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. Does it work? Probably not very well. Okay, and that is the end of natural family planning.